So it's clicking away. Hello and welcome to the Rugby Championship Round 1 review. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion. And yes, the Super Rugby is out of the way and it's time for the big boys to play. It's the Rugby Championship, it's the All Blacks, the Wallabies, the Springboks and the Pumas battling it out for, well, hey, in Southern Hemisphere, the best annual international competition. Those up in Europe would disagree, but hey, that's all conjecture and opinion, isn't it? And we do opinion. So, Herman, sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Paul. But I have to again report it's never stopped raining up here. So anyone jealous of me living in Thailand right now, don't be. It's been raining like non-stop for 2 weeks now. Getting a little bit boring.
Okay, but your rain is kind of warm rain, right? It's not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, true. But when it's rain, it's really raining here. I mean, you don't have this kind of rains when you're closer to the North Pole and the South Pole. You know, it's.
Oh, did we do that old song? The rain's down in Africa. No, anyway, no. We won't.
You didn't nail the melody there.
I didn't hit the melody.
I hear it down rain in Africa. Na 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 na.
That too much, but yes, well done. Much closer to it than I was.
It was one of my father's favorite songs. That's what I know about one. He played it non-stop when I was a kid, and I hated it. But now, actually, when I'm grown up, I start to like it.
So this is nice. You're showing my age here. Your dad's favorite song is what I was about to rattle off. There we go. Cool. Oh well. Anyway, this was after probably the only weekend without any rugby at all last weekend. This weekend, lots and lots of rugby. The Mitre 10 Cup kicked off with some cracking games. If you want to know how that all went, check out my wrap-up for that, because I went to one of those games and watched much more rugby than is healthy to do so of those. And you can catch it up on the Mitre 10 Cup wrap-up. There was also a couple of games in the Currie Cup, and then also the Rugby Championship kicked off, which was the main event. Now, the first one, I'll be honest, I was in the pub for the Bledisloe Cup game. So basically my notes are, a blank page of notes, because I was actually in the pub watching it rather than actually at my desk. But yeah, from my hazy memory, the Wallabies kicked off and had a great first half.
They did. But look, I mean, that's probably the best defensive effort I've seen from the Wallabies ever. The first 38 minutes, they hardly missed any tackles at all. They looked spot on, and probably should have scored 1 or 2 tries when they were in a pretty good position inside the All Blacks 22 in the first 25 minutes. But that didn't happen, as we all know.
No, it didn't. And I was had a chat at work today. So hi, Alex. If you're watching one, you're at the gym at the moment. You're going to be watching the replay. But discussing with Alex during that we think the Wallabies were correct to take that first penalty, get some points on the board, make sure when you visit that 22, you get points. The second time round, though, you're not going to win this game by threes. So perhaps the wrong decision making.
Because he wasn't like, we had pretty good pressure on the All Blacks close to the try line, and it was 1 or more 2 penalties. If All Blacks would have gave away, we probably would have gotten a yellow card too, because the first penalty was pretty cynical. So they were, I agree with you. It was completely the wrong choice to kick that one right front of the sticks there.
Yeah, that's second one. I think Hooper got got that call wrong. And you could hear him talking to the ref saying, every time we come down here, ref, they infringe. Sure. True. But how many yellow cards do you see for repeat infringements given in the first 20 minutes? It doesn't happen. Those cards come much later in the game.
True.
You know you can get away with a few at that point, especially if you've not been warned.
That's probably what saved Naholo from getting a yellow card too, because that was a pretty fair yellow card. I think his tip tackle on Folau.
Oh, that was that was
it was. But yes, I seen this, but it's very hard to get a yellow card or a red card in the first couple of minutes of play. It's referee are very hesitant to give them. So if you're gonna do something really naughty, do it the first 5 minutes.
either ruin your team's entire chance, or get away with it. That's basically what we're saying here. And Jacks say that's a good thing. We want to see 15 versus 15 on the field. We also want to see teams not being cynical, actually trying to play the game rather than actually kill the game. No, I disagree. Naholo should have been off for 10 minutes. Now, I understand where the referee's coming from, because when I watched it the first time out, it looked like a bit of a kind of dive from Folau. But watching it in slow-mo, so you've taken the guy beyond horizontal. That's yellow all day long. So the referee got that one wrong. Apart from that, I think he had a decent game, though. I don't think he had that bad a game overall, or didn't have that much.
No, I'm not a fan of Piper. I've been critical of him, but I don't like doing the ref bashing. We don't like to do that on this channel. But if I have to have opinion, he's one of my least favorite referees around, actually. Yeah. But let's not get into that now, because we don't like to do ref bashing here.
And
just to be really, really fair, I mean, in this game, I think he missed a lot of calls both ways. In the beginning, he was probably a little bit lenient to help, 2 free penalties for the All Blacks, but then the rest of the game, I thought he missed a lot of things, but both ways. But you just have to take it. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, there's so much going on. The ref isn't going to catch them all, so that's fine. The problem, I think, for the Australians was to keep up the intensity that they had in that first half hour. They just didn't have the fitness, and they already started to look a bit tired prior to half time. Yeah,
but there's been a lot of explaining about the bosses like the fitness. I have never been a believer in this argument, because top level professional sport, there are no secrets when it comes to fitness, how you actually get like top fitness. You cannot do anything magic or smart or something like that. It's all, you gotta do the minutes, you gotta eat right, and you gotta rest. That's just the way it is. And I think for me, it's more like I would say it's like more about mental fitness. Of course, there is a connection between physical fitness and mental fitness. But if you look at the start of the second half, when we're just coming back from the sheds after a 50-minute rest, I mean, okay, if they tired in the last 20 minutes, but it was probably between the first 10 minutes of the second half where the Wallabies played the poorest, and they can't really be fatigued there just when we're coming out from the sheds. That's my opinion of that.
No, I think they probably were, as you say, you're talking about the mental fatigue and mental morale. Is we've got through the first half, we've had the best of the first half hour, we've not got across the line, we've only got a 1-point lead. At half time, after all that work, it just gets harder in the second half, and maybe that was more of it.
Well, but still, it's a 49-point improvement from last year, so I mean, we can't beat that down.
No, absolutely, and this is a much better. People saying, "Oh, it's an abysmal showing by Australia." No, I think that it was a poor second half.
Very poor second half.
But it was a very good first half. They would have wanted to score more points, obviously, but that didn't happen. Obviously, we had that try before half time with Aaron Smith. Then Jack Goodhughes score just after half time, and suddenly we've gone from 6-0 to 6-12 in the space of 5 minutes. And sure, it's only a 6
point. And then
basically
they scored the next one pretty shortly after that too, and went up to 19-6.
Yep, they did. I mean, it was another 8. Yeah, 8. But I even at 6-12, I looked at it and just went, "Yeah, okay, it's over now." Basically, the Wallabies hadn't been able to score a try, and whereas the All Blacks had already got a couple, and I just felt that even at that point that sure, it's not a big gap, and if it had been sort of like 7-12 and we'd seen a try from the Wallabies, I'd have had a different opinion. But it just, because of our inability to get that try to break down the All Blacks defence, to me it felt all over.
Which was kind of surprising too, because in my opinion, that Wallabies is probably the only team that usually can actually score tries against All Blacks on a regular basis without actually killing themselves. If you know what I mean. Their back play is they are the one who are closest to the All Blacks when it comes to back play quality. But today, they look like whales. I mean.
Oh, now that's
No, but
he looked like Wales. Wow, that's we're getting low here. Punching below the belt.
I actually start comparing the wallabies with France lately, in France of late, because wallabies they can be anything from utterly useless to magnificent, and never know what you're going to get from them. And they can beat All Blacks anytime, but they can also fail badly. And wasn't that French of old? That was exactly what the French of old did.
That was the French of old, yes. Very true. Bernard Barrett missed a couple of kicks in that first half. Left his kicking boots at home then, but showed why he was in the side really with that try in the second half, and he showed us that he is the number one fly half in New Zealand, if not the world.
Well, at least he can make a case of being New Zealand's best soccer player, I think. He got good skills there. I got to give that. He does. He got good feet.
He has got good feet, yes, and they're quick feet as well.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure he can play decent soccer. And
then in that second half, basically the Wallabies set piece fell to pieces.
They lost 7 on the lineouts on their own throw, and they gave away 6 scrum penalties. Anyone looking for one argument why they lost the game, there you go. It's impossible to win a rugby game with those kind of stats, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I've got it as eight lost throws on their own lineout, but hey,
7 or 8. Yeah.
The All Blacks lost 3, and they lost some pretty key ones early on as well, which was a bit of a surprise.
But that's also a thing with the full game. I think All Blacks, as comfortable as the win was in the second half, I didn't really think they played that good. It wasn't like a spectacular All Black show. They didn't really have to try that hard to score in the second half. It went quite easy because the cover defense in the Wallabies was completely gone in the second half. Completely.
Yeah, and we're talking about the lineouts. I thought Isaac Rodder had a good game in that first half. He stole a couple of lineouts, etc., and impressed me then. And as you say, not only did the tackling go, not only did the lineouts go, but also tackling went as well.
We missed 40. They missed 40 tackles in the second half. I think it was we missed 3 tackles in the first half and 37 in the second half.
Yep.
Which is it's another killer stat for you while you lose the game.
It is. They managed 17 clean breaks, but only got across the try line once, whereas the New Zealand 23 clean breaks. And they got their 6 tries. Very different in that kind of sense. You've talked about the penalties as well. New Zealand, once they gave up those early couple of penalties, they only gave up 6 penalties all game, and it felt like, especially in that first 20 minutes, that they probably gave away nearly 4 of those 6 penalties were kind of early on. Then they found their feet, figured out how the breakdown was going to be called, adapted to it, and didn't give away any more penalties. Whereas, as you said, Australia just couldn't keep the scrum up, and just were giving away far too many penalties there. And with a line out that's dysfunctioning, kicking into you're just going to kick the corner the whole time.
Because if you talk a little bit more about when you lose 7 lineouts on your own throw, how much territory in yards are you actually losing? That it's massive amount you're going to lose.
And rugby is a territory game, which is why things like clean breaks, penalties are so important. Penalties are supposed to gain you 30, 40 metres. Clean breaks will gain you territory, and then it's very much it's a territory, not really a possession game on the whole. If you can't kick to the line, kick penalties to the line, and reclaim the ball, then you're in major trouble.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's a territory game. I'm just thinking quickly about because defending inside the opponent's 22, it's not a bad thing at all.
Yep. That's where you kind of that's when you have your kicking duels. That's what it's all about. It's try and get them to trying to get the opposition to have to play in their own half, wait for them to make a mistake, and then suddenly you're in the right place to score. Naholo bagged himself a couple of late tries, and I had perhaps one of the most annoying people in the bar, telling me, deciding that telling us that Naholo was a total waste of space. So him picking up 2 tries in 2 minutes towards the end, 2 tries in the last 10 minutes, was.
You say what, mate? What do you say, mate?
Yeah, it was kind of nice. Also, Bowden Barrett turning up as well. He also got some flack from this same idiot in the bar. So perhaps I will be watching more games at home rather than listening to idiots give opinions on players. But Naholo had another great game. For Australia, their try scorer, Jack Maddox, he came on and managed to create a bit of magic and a bit of momentum, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but he looks pretty soft on defense. I mean, I think I can see you can play him on the wing against a lesser team, but if you're going to have him against All Blacks defending, I'm not convinced.
I thought he had a decent first run out. It'll be interesting to see how he goes. Another player we should talk. Sorry.
Yeah, who was your man of the match?
I wasn't going to go there next. I was going to say we need to talk about some players who got injured.
Because it's good segue, because I want to connect to what I say, but this was probably a chance where he could have beaten the All Blacks, because All Blacks' performance over 80 minutes wasn't actually stellar. And look at the 2 players who got injured. Crotty, we can go in more to deal, but also Ioane. Both of them are players you would consider doesn't have as good cover up behind them. Both of them are probably best in the world in each position. And they lost both of them, and still the Wallabies did nothing with that.
Yeah, and we've got to be concerned for Crotty. Another head knock, and he was out. There was no way he was coming back. Now, first up, I'm happy that Hansen has already said he's not in contention for next week. That's good. Mm-hmm. They need to give him some time to rest and recuperate. Saw his sister on Twitter saying that, look, she wants someone that all she wants is for him to be basically have a long and basically come out of rugby and still be the guy that he is without any issues. So a lot of people on Twitter opinionating, saying that look, it's time for him to retire. Now, I'm not a doctor.
I want to.
Go on.
I saw on Stuff today we had a poll if people want Ryan Crotty to continue to play, or if he should stop playing, or do something else. 79% of the Kiwis think he should stop playing rugby.
Yes, and I get where people are coming from, and for his own health, again, I also kind of agree to a certain extent. But we are away from the players. We're not doctors. We don't actually know what their tests and what their things are like. I just think hopefully they give him the proper rest that he needs to recover, and that he does recover properly before coming back, and he's not rushed back into it. That's my key thing.
Yeah. I would probably have been more comfortable if Hansen had said, now he's out of the rugby championship now. We give him a good 2 months rest, because I watch a lot of UFC, MMA. And if you get knocked out in an MMA game, you have a stand-down period of 3 months, no matter what the doctor says. And I think that's a fair rule. If you've been proper, he got knocked out this time. He was out for a good 15 seconds. And I hear them say, the doctors say all the checks are fine. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. I think they are too soft here. All Blacks love to present themselves that we are going in the forefront of this. We're so serious about this. But compared to other sports, I'm not so sure.
Maybe not compared to other teams, though. They've done. Some players have been rushed back occasionally. Well, not occasionally. Some people have been rushed back. Generally, the All Blacks players that in New Zealand, so some rugby players tend to get rushed back, whereas All Blacks players tend to get a bit more time off normally. So it's good to. So yeah, hopefully he does, and hopefully also he does the right kind of things. Again, I'm not a doctor, but basically. Take his phone away from him. He should have 0 screen time for the next week. He needs to be resting in situations where there's not lots of stimulus. So, and that kind of stuff. That's what the brain needs to rest. If he takes time off and just watches and catches up on reruns of his favorite TV show, that's not going to help at all. He needs to really get away from any screen time. Nowhere busy, nowhere loud and noisy, which is why I don't like to see players come back and sit on the bench when they're off for concussion, because you're in a loud, noisy, highly what's the word I'm looking for here? I've gone blank, but basically highly stimulating environment. And what you need is a low stimulating environment to give you a break rest. It's not just it's very different to lying on the sofa isn't enough. Yes, he'll get bored silly, but unfortunately that's kind of what he needs. Or
he should probably come to Thailand and spend a month in a Buddhist with the monks within the temple. That would do him good. Where he get too quiet.
So as you say, Rico Ioane went off, but also Israel Folau went off as well. All three players.
Big names. All the world stars going off.
All the world stars going off, yes. Then again, this game is there's not many non-world stars, but yes, all very recognisable players going off in that. Player of the game, I can just be boring and go Retallick. I mean, he had a fantastic...
but he did. He did. I mean, he did. And the only other player I think was close to Retallick, he was actually playing for Australia, and that was Pocock. I mean, to play that good in a losing side for 80 minutes, he was. And I think we have to give a shout out to Pocock also that he stopped playing when he saw Crofty was knocked out and started tending to him right away.
Yes, absolutely.
That's class. That's pure class.
Lots of people are giving him props for that. Yeah, definitely. He was. That is class. That is what we want to see. Retallick clearly had that one big run, but still with 63 metres running with the ball in hand, that meant he ran further than any of the Wallabies players with ball in hand in this game. Their top player was Corey Betty with 56 metres. Foley with 55 was very energetic. Maddox got 81, so that's right, he was the highest one. You've got to remember that Foley quite often plays at second receiver rather than first receiver as he switches with Beale, which increases that number as well. And then, Jack Goodhue, top metre gain, along with Naholo, both at 126. Can
I
very good game in this game.
About Jack Goodhue, can I say, told you so now? I've been hyping him for some time, haven't I?
You have, and you're not the only one. I mean, generally on this channel as a whole, we've thought he's a good player and should be ahead of Anton Leonard-Brown. But to be fair, Leonard-Brown had a very good game as well, back to some of his best.
Yeah, that was a big surprise actually. I mean, I thought they're going to lose a lot with losing Crotty, but we have to give props to Leonard-Brown where he really slotted in and did that was one of his best test games probably.
Yeah, and 10
good
tackles,
overall.
Only 2 missed, makes him one of the top tacklers. Well, actually, Goodhue got 11, Whitelock 10, Kane with 11. Makes him one of the top tacklers in that game for the... you were mentioning Pocock, 17 tackles, 2 missed. He put in a big shift, as you mentioned.
He did. and they don't even play him in his best position, which is also...
Well, just because he had 8 in his back, I think we saw him packing down at flanker, sometimes at scrum time. So the numbers are becoming a little less relevant nowadays amongst the 3 loose forwards. But I thought Leonard-Brown looked much better in the junior internationals and has started to come back to a bit of better form. Earlier in the season, especially for the Chiefs, I think he struggled, and probably not helped by the fact the number of injuries that the Chiefs have had as well. To be fair to him. So when we're talking about next week, I expect him to start in that 12 jersey. Lamapi is the other option, obviously, but he's in the squad as injury cover. So Anton Leonard-Brown officially is ahead of him in the pecking order. So I expect them to go Leonard-Brown and Goodhue with Lamapi on the bench is my expectation, assuming that Sonny Bill Williams isn't back, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, just had this this horror thought in my head, imagine a tired Wallabies team with 20 minutes left and we put in Loape instead of the number 12 jersey. Oh, it's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get ugly for the Wallabies.
Yeah, absolutely. And your comment earlier, I was looking through the penalty counts. Plotter now 2 penalties given away. Kepu 3 penalties. Robertson gave away a penalty as well, and then also Ainsley from the reserves. So you've got, what's that, 7 penalties given up by the front row of
and six of them was in the scrum.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're saying from the Aussies. So clearly that was a big problem. And Cody Taylor did give up 1 penalty. And Perry came on, obviously, for his debut and gave up a penalty as well. But yeah, props to Perry. She was props to colour players here. Whitelock, obviously 100 caps. Congratulations, sir.
Yep.
And congratulations, Perry, on your debut as well. So yeah, congratulations to both those guys on their milestones. We shouldn't forget those. And yeah, I think I've run through most of the stuff that I wanted to kind of cover in this game.
Yeah. One small positive. It was good to see. It was not a sellout, but it was a big up. It was 66,000 this time. I thought last year was just barely 50,000. So good to see that. I'm not sure we're going to come back next year, but good to see at least.
Yeah, decent crowd. The return fixture in Auckland has just sold out. So for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere trying to get hold of Twickenham tickets, going, how do you ever get one? And to hear that, that the Bledisloe Cup game at Eden Park, perhaps the biggest game of the year in New Zealand, doesn't sell out until 7 days before the game. There you go. That's how you get tickets down.
Yeah, I thought even last year when we played it in Dunedin, they didn't even sell it out. It was about 1,000 tickets left. So
it has. Yeah, so 48,511, I think, is the number that are sold out for this weekend's game up in Auckland.
All right.
Okay.
Move on to the next one.
Moving on to the next one, another try bonus point win for the Springboks, 34-21 in this one, and in some ways you've got to say, a bit of a let off for the Pumas, because Henri Pollard left his kicking boots.
He did.
Got lost in transit somewhere.
Yeah, he basically kept them in the game.
He did, and that was 11 points were missing from the boot, and so hence on the 52 minutes mark it was 27-14 when it should have been 38-14. And at 38-14, let's be honest, it would have been absolutely all dead and buried. Those 11 points, he can't afford to do that against the All Blacks, can he?
Yes, very, very much so. Very much. I mean, I was amazed how the Pumas can lead in the halftime, considering how dominant the Springboks was in the first half. Like how on earth was Puma managing to lead? Yeah,
I mean, some of the stats in that first half: 62% possession for the Springboks and 71% territory. Argentina just never left their own half really in that first half, and still we're leading 10-14 at half time. I mean, it was all South African pressure initially, and eventually that told with the try. But it was South African discipline that really let them down in that first half, I felt, letting Argentina sort of back into it.
Yeah, Pollard's kicking and giving away stupid penalties, constantly we let Argentina get out of jail when we should have buried them probably in the first half.
Yep. I also want to do a bit of a contrast in styles of play. So both these sides ran 142 times, and you look at South Africa made 171 passes, Argentina 161. So Argentina pretty much playing pretty narrow. But you're looking at like 40 extra passes there. 20 extra passes only there for the Argentina overruns and 30 odd for South Africa. If we look at the previous game, something pretty similar from Australia: 160 passes for 124 runs, so about 40 odd extra passes. The All Blacks, 224 passes for 148 runs, 80 more passes than runs. It shows you the complexity of their play is much higher to keep the structures in, and their ability to keep their structures and not have to resort to one out play is pretty phenomenal, and that's a big difference between between them and the other sides here.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, we are probably very much again looking at a competition where the big excitement is going to be who's going to finish second. But
Yep.
we'll see. It's early days. I mean, we expect All Blacks to improve, and they probably will, but if All Blacks play at that level they did against Wallabies, when Springboks can have a chance at home to beat them. That I reckon. But probably All Blacks going to step up their game by then.
Yeah. And they're going to have to not give away those silly penalties in the first half, and improve their kicking. But it was kind of interesting that it did that basically for the first 20 odd minutes, first maybe 25 minutes, it felt like there had been no line breaks, and the defences were really much on top. And then suddenly the game opened up, and we had some end-to-end stuff, which was really exciting.
Yeah, it was an entertaining game to watch. We got to say that.
Yeah,
maybe not top quality, but very entertaining.
Which led to a couple of tries, Dante is really showing himself to be heading maybe for Rico's crown of the of Rookie of the Year.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I mean, I'm patting myself too much on the back, but actually, only when I saw the first game with him in Super Rugby this season against the Lions, against the Lions-Jaguars. That was the first time I ever saw him, and it was his first Super Rugby game. I mean, it's more luck, but the feeling was already from seeing him the first time, oh my God, that's the new Brian Habana. But because I guess some players, when you see them the first time, the talent is so obvious, like, oh, he's going to be a test player, and he's going to be a good test player. You can basically see it from the start. I think a little bit different. I actually checked out Giantis a little bit. I do a little research about him. I'm a fan, So. And I think I told this before on this channel, but I can repeat myself again now. He has a little bit different background from a usual South African winger. We have seen a lot of good black players with lots of speed, but I think we can be fair to say the nous of playing rugby, like the feel for the game, has been lacking many, many times. They're very good at running fast, but no. Jante has grown up in a real rugby playing family, and he has a father and 3 elder brothers who all play on a high level in rugby in South Africa. And he started playing when he was 5 years old. And he's basically played in every single position you can play in. And sadly, was probably not picked up earlier because he was black.
And if we look at the stats wise, you're going to say actually, Mapipi, 10 carries, 78 metres, clean breaks, 4 clean breaks. Dante, 10 carries, 47 metres, 2 clean breaks. It's like, well, why are we raving about Dante over the other guy? The other guy made more meters.
He tried 6 tackles and made 6 tackles.
But
that's the start. I mean, to have a winger who can really defend. That's why I say I have never, since Brian Habana, we haven't seen a proper South African winger who can both score and defend.
Well, Mapipi made. It says here that he had 6. That Dante had 6 tackles, missed 1. Mapipi, 7 tackles, missed 1.
All right. So both of them can do it.
But to me, the difference was Dante's work off the ball. He was his kick chase, his chasing of things, and his work off the ball. He was the guy that popped up. The left winger, Pippo had up on the right wing to give the final pass to Mapipi for his try as well. It was Dante's work, as you say. It's his work off the ball that I think has been that set him apart in this one.
Well, I guess so. What I just told you about his background make total sense to you then.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not just he knows he knows it, but he's willing to put the work in. You can see he'll chase lost causes, and he's going to go for it, which is very good.
But you can imagine with all the backyard rugby he played with 3 elder brother and a father and an uncle too who played rugby. I mean, he's probably been beaten up a lot when he was a kid and learned the hard way how you play rugby.
Then in that second half, you could just see South Africa come out and just raise the intensity, and take the game away. Their intensity in that second half was very impressive, especially in that first the first 20 minutes.
20 minutes of second half, yeah.
And they just took the game away from Argentina, scoring 17 points. Argentina tried a bit of fighting fire with fire by trying to take quick tap penalties, but it just didn't work. And they just just couldn't do it.
No, sorry.
No, I was saying, the only time they did score was the intercept of it, and that was
Willens throw it.
Yeah, Raw Rugby comment in the chat there. I remember hearing an interesting quote from this weekend. Last year, wingers were the absolute weakness in the Bok team. Now the wingers are the ones that carry the team. Well, yeah, that's kind of what we're saying.
Yeah.
Both players.
That's a very good comment. I mean, look at the difference in the quality of the Springboks back three this year to last year.
Yep.
It's immense.
One player that didn't come on and have a great game though. That someone that I've been impressed with join Super Rugby, Willemse came on and had a bit of a poor game, didn't he?
Yeah, but he was a bit unlucky because I thought their plan was to ease him in playing fullback. That was their plan, to give him like 50 minutes at fullback. But then Pollard had such a shocker, so they were never planned to play him as fly out for first 5-8. So it was a bit.
Came on through the intercept for the try, managed to kick the ball out in the full. Yeah, he just wasn't. He didn't really have a very good, debut. But hopefully that was down. Hopefully that was just nerves, and we'll see him settle down and be a much better player going forwards. We know he's got the skills. I found a really interesting quote on Twitter by I think Nell, where he was saying that Willemse has never done a press. What do you call it?
Press conference?
Press conference. In his entire Super Rugby career, he's been kept away from it. His first ever press conference comes as a Springbok at international level. And you got to think.
Well, all that work protecting him is like gone.
All that work protecting him, and then you go and do that to him. Look, you wait till he's had a very, very, very good game, and then you put him in a press conference where all the questions are going to be positive. And let him build him up. And he's had some good games at Super Rugby level. They've had opportunities to, Do you wheel him out after a 50-point loss? No, that's not how you protect your players. But also not wheeling him out when he's scored 20 odd points and has been the match winner for you, and not wheeling him out again is not protecting him, because in the future he's going to have to talk to the press. So some pretty poor man management there. I think he's just by the Stormers.
He's just Stormers, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a bit disappointing for them by that. On the Argentinian side, obviously it's the first game with Mario Ledesma as the as coach.
They looked like they cared at least this time.
True. But and some of the quotes, there's a podcast, but yeah, I mean, Ledesma hasn't won in South Africa all the way through in Super Rugby, so I guess not a surprise that he didn't this time, he's clearly got a very big task on his hands running up to the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, but he needs. I mean, there are obviously lots of things that needs to be fixed for Los Pumas, but the obvious one, we're starting to open the door now for European-based players, but I don't think we're going to be competitive in a rugby championship until they start picking like their best 23 players wherever they play in the world. It's not going to happen before that.
Maybe not, but that basically means that the Jaguares are going to be whipping boys for many more years then, because they just don't have the resources to compete. To buy players, income-wise. So that's they're in a big catch-22 situation there. Unfortunately, you say at least they look like they wanted to do it. Again, another side whose set piece fell apart. They lost 5 lineouts, and now the Springboks lost 3 lineouts, and all of those seem to be in the first half. And they all seem to be 5 meters out from the try line. So, the Springboks, their lost lineouts were all key ones.
But you have to give it I think it's Petty. He's probably the best defensive lineup operator in Super Rugby. Gudio Petty, the lock-in.
So, yep. Good for the game. Thank you for joining us, along with Jack and Christian. Yeah, home and smoking, yes, well, we'll ignore that. But yeah, it's going to be a tough rugby championship for the Pumas. Let's be honest, they're going to need. But good comment in the chat there that South Africa needs to. And it's scrolled past, I've lost it now. But South Africa need to stop giving away these early leads. And they did it against England. They've done it again now against Argentina, and that could be their Achilles heel in their 2 games against the Wallabies if they're not careful.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. But I still think there is maybe it's early days. But what I like with Rassie Erasmus Springboks is especially with the way he talks about them. He calls a spade, you know. He was very blunt after the game that, yeah, we played good for 25 minutes. But that's, instead of coming in, yes, we're winning, la 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 la, you know, like Alistair could see you do. Like he just couldn't see, but actually we're not playing good. So I think that's very encouraging for the Springboks, because whatever their weaknesses are, it seems like their coach are on it.
Yep. And we're hearing lots of positive news from him. And I was a bit concerned about selection. It's one of the things I mentioned in the in our preview. But I think I was much happier with his selection in this one. So I think he's managed to balance that well.
If you're gonna, we have to touch the quota subject again. But if upside there, I think at least 5 black players had a really good game. Beast, again, very very solid. Kolisi, I think you can see his form is going up. He was definitely better than the Super Rugby. The wingers, we have both touched, and also I think the number 13, Am, actually made a really good game in the centers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they're there. There was an element of during the June Test series where it looked like that some players were getting picked, and you could argue that actually it was his first series and he was actually testing players out to see how they would do, and maybe that's what it was, maybe he was having his own forced. There was no players in this game who you're thinking perhaps someone else should be picked ahead of them. They were they all, everyone in that team deserved the jersey they were wearing.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas in the June series, there were definitely there were times when you're like, this isn't the first choice. Side, but I say that was his first series. Those were his first games. He's allowed to experiment, and that's a good time to do it as well. So,
but he got. Rassie is very very straightforward with, but the quotas are there. It is what it is, you know. We just got to live with him and do the best of it. And he make like no fuss with it whatsoever. And if you got to live up to those quota laws, you have to experiment. You got to find the good black players. That's just the way it is.
Yep. So we have the return fixtures next weekend.
I think we need to.
Sorry, go on.
I think we need to give a shout out to Ibn Etzebet, who came back after being out for 8 months and just stepped in and did a massive 80-minute shift, really showing that he is one of the best locks in the world. That's not bad to do after such a long layoff to come back in, and probably, I thought Etzebet and Jantes were the 2 best players in the Springboks in this game.
Yeah, Faf also had a good game at scrum half whilst Pollard wasn't. On the other side, obviously the back 3, Mayano, Delgi, Buffelli are always a threat from Argentina. You already mentioned was it Pepe, who
Petty, Gujo Petty, the lock.
For the for that. Creevy got around as normal, but yeah, they just didn't. Just couldn't cope with the intensity that South Africa brought, especially in that first 20 minutes after the half time. Basically.
Yep. Yeah. It is that simple sometimes.
Oh dear. So the Christian says, Razzie Rasmussen still got lots of work to do to get South Africa Rugby back to its best. Yes, I mean, South Africa Rugby at its best is the best team in the world.
Exactly.
No bones about it.
Obviously.
And this isn't the best team in the world. There is still a long way to go, but it's a good start from him overall. Good for the game. It amazes me how players can return from long injury layoffs at top level these days. And we've seen that. I mean,
Kieran Reid
did the same thing earlier. It's going to be interesting because Dane Coles looks like he will get some game time during this Rugby Championship. Will he actually play any Mitre 10 Cup, or will he go straight into a test game? That'll be interesting to see. But you're right. They all say it, that you train the way you want to play. And coaches are getting better at doing that now, of getting the training and the sports science and all of that kind of piece of stuff of getting players ready and prepared is much better than it used to be. And so they don't necessarily need as much game time under their belts because they can have the.
But I guess we rarely see like fresh player do this. I mean, Edsvet and Reid, that's two old horses who've been around for a while too.
Two very experienced players, two of the best players in their positions in the world. Yes. They are exceptional talents.
Yeah. I wouldn't trust, if you have like one of your true leaders in the team, you can do that. But a debutant or someone pretty green, no, I don't think so. No matter what the sports science says, I will still not pick them.
So cool. Any final, little gems of wisdom you'd like to impart upon our listeners or viewers?
No, not really. I mean, I was getting a little bit. I had like a little bit of a sad feeling after both games that he was a little bit too. The results were very predictable. The results got pretty much exactly what everyone expected, and the quality of a rugby. I was expecting better quality of rugby actually in both games. I was a little bit disappointed by the quality actually.
End result, yes, I get where you're coming from. But if you look at half-time results, at half-time, both the Wallabies and the Pumas were leading at half-time and then went on to lose. So you would have got, I know you would have got long odds for Australia leading at half-time, New Zealand winning, because my friend actually said he'd thought about putting money on that, and he didn't. But I think that was 4-1, for example. So I guess from that point of view, two good first halves, and then predictability in the second half. I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. So we will be back with the #Rugby Chat show tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Herman is going to join me for that one as well. Hopefully we'll get Ashwin in there.
What are we going to talk about?
I haven't decided.
What are we going to talk about tomorrow? You haven't decided? Okay.
We probably will talk about some things with like, is Folau's injury a positive or a negative for the Wallabies? Have they become too reliant on him? Is it actually good to try out some different players? So something along those sort of lines I think we'll probably have a quick chat about. We may talk a bit about Mariana Desma as a coach.
Fifita seems to have taken his dropping from the All Blacks in the best way. He looked awesome for Wellington in Mitre 10.
I watched a lot of rugby over the weekend, but that was one of the ones I missed.
But you didn't see that one? Okay.
I didn't see that one, no.
No, he looked really like a man on a mission. Okay, I'm going to show. Very impressive to see.
We'll probably maybe throw that one out just because, hey, it always comes around, and we had such a cracking opening round of games in the Mitre 10 Cup. So is the Mitre 10 Cup actually better than Super Rugby nowadays for fans? And a few things like that. And if you've got any questions you would like us to ask, then put them in the comments down below, or answer, or send me a tweet at DrivingMaul on Twitter. And we'll have a good old #Rugby Chat tomorrow night. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you all then.